I warned my boyfriend once, if he ever grabbed the steering wheel while I was driving again, I'd leave him on the side of the road. A few days later, he decided to test whether I meant it. That night, he went to a house party, hosted by his work wife, Tina. When I asked if I could come as his plus one, he said no. He told me I don't drink, I'd kill the vibe, and I'd end up being known as the buzzkill at his job. According to him, he was doing me a favor by leaving me out. 6 hours later, at 3 in the morning, he called me completely drunk, begging for a ride home. I asked where the taxi money I gave him had gone. He laughed and admitted he'd spent it buying Tina food. Not just food and extra-large pizza, sides, dessert, drinks. For her. I was angry, but I didn't want him hurt. So I drove 45 minutes to pick him up. When I got there, he didn't answer his phone for several minutes. When he finally got in the car, he told me he'd stayed behind to help Tina look for a necklace she'd lost. As soon as I started driving, he began yelling about how amazing the party was and how funny Tina was. Then he laughed and said she'd done an impression of me. Before I could respond, he grabbed the steering wheel. I pulled over immediately and told him that if he touched it again, I would leave him right there. He laughed in my face and said I loved him too much to do it. 2 minutes later, he grabbed the wheel again, this time yanking it hard. The car skidded, hit a curb, and crashed into a bush. I was screaming. He was laughing. That was it. I told him to get out of the car. When he refused, I tricked him into stepping out, then drove away. I went home shaking and cried the rest of the night. 8 hours later, he showed up muddy and confused, claiming he didn't remember anything. When I told him what happened, he got angry, not ashamed. He said I'd abandoned him. He said a real girlfriend wouldn't do that. He even compared me to Tina, saying she'd never treat him that way. I realized something then. Even sober, he couldn't admit he'd endangered my life. Over the next week, he moved out slowly and posted a dramatic story online about how I cruelly stranded him on the road. He left out the drinking, the steering wheel, the crash. Tina filled the comments with lies about me being controlling. Then I learned the truth. He wasn't staying with his friend like he claimed. He was staying with Tina. I finally posted my said every detail he'd erased. The reaction flipped overnight. People called him out. They questioned Tina. The truth spread faster than his lie. When he called screaming at me to take it down, Tina grabbed the phone and admitted he'd been staying with her. That was the last confirmation I needed. I bagged up everything he owned, dumped it by the dumpster, and told him to get it before trash pickup. 3 months later, I got a call. He and Tina had been drunk again. This time, she dared him to drive. They crashed at high speed and ended up in the ICU. I didn't feel guilty. I felt detached. Because the difference between then and now was simple. I wasn't there anymore to absorb the consequences of his recklessness. I've moved on. I got promoted. I take pottery classes. I adopted a cat. My life is quiet and safe. I don't regret leaving him on that road. I regret not leaving sooner. Sometimes, the hardest boundary is the one that finally saves you.